Hello, everyone. Welcome to the returning Piledriver podcast. I almost messed it up because it's been so long, but I am one of your hosts, Daniel, joined by my other two hosts.
It's Berman.
And Chris again.
And today we got quite a few things to talk about that happened this week. NXT Vengeance Day was last week, and then we also have the announcement of the main event for Elimination Chamber, Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. We will be reviewing that show, considering that we said that Vince, we thought would have had more of an involvement on the company, but so far that definitely has not been the case. And funny enough, he might already be on his way out yet again. So that's pretty funny. So
It means that WWE probably is going to get a lot better.
So what's going on accordingly is that a lot of companies are not interested in buying WWE due to the return of Vince McMahon. So it's actually impacted them getting the sale. So he might have to step down again just so they can get the sale. So the one thing Vince McMahon apparently came back for, the sale, is something he can't even do because he's in that much of trouble. So it's very funny, honestly. It's really funny.
And well deserved. Fuck Vince
Yeah.
McMahon.
For real. So we're going to talk about Elimination Chamber a little bit. We're also going to be throwing out some hot takes about WrestleMania involving Rhea Ripley and Logan Paul. So that's going to be interesting. We also have a lot of interesting accusations about the Young Bucks that we're going to be talking about as well. And Jay White lost his Loser Leaves Japan match today. So what is next for Jay White? That is the question on everybody's mind, myself included. We're going to be talking about all of that here today on the podcast. Again, we only do this podcast whenever there's a lot of things to talk about. And, it's to really avoid having some boring podcasts, because back when it was weekly, after a while, it kind of got hard to, keep these as entertaining as possible. But, if we do these sparingly whenever there's a lot of news that happens in the week, I think it'd be appropriate to do these kind of videos. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First, NXT Vengeance Day 2023. So, I will say it's been a bit of a process for NXT to get back to its glory days. And, like I said back on Deadline, I've noticed that some things have improved, but there are still some issues. And again, I can say it again, even from Deadline, I think this was a better show than Deadline. And I can say for the first time since the original NXT, that I thought this was a good show. Not a decent show, not an all right show. I thought it was actually a good show, surprisingly enough. And does this mean I'm watching NXT on a weekly basis? No, absolutely not. But if they improve more and more over time, I might have to check them out again. I mean, they got Wesley as the North American champion right now. We're going to be talking about him. And then there's another guy who may be beating Braun Breaker soon. So if those two are the champions of the brand, best believe I'm tuning in every week. But without further ado, Berman, before we dive in, what are your general thoughts on the show?
To me, I did love it. Well, not love it. I would say it was a good show. There's one thing, I would actually probably say two things that I got kind of pissed at, but there's one in particular with the main thing. But everything else is pretty okay. I loved it. The first match that they put up, the Wesley, was great. Every match was fun. I think they did a good job. I just think they just messed up on. They really effed up on the main thing. That I'm against the whole NXT 2.0 right now.
I see. And yeah, you mentioned Wesley. Can me and you both agree he was the MVP of this show?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So, speaking of Wesley, let's dive into the first match. North American Championship match. Wesley versus Dijak. Now, Dijak has been through a few names in WWE. And, his most infamous one that we all sadly frown upon is T-Bar. Thankfully, he's no longer T-Bar. What is he now? I'm not quite sure, but I'll at least take it whatever T-Bar was. That's for damn sure. So, this is what I'll say, though. You had this outstanding David versus Goliath match, which is at a great pace, but it takes its time as well. And not many matches can really do that these days. And let me say it, Wesley is definitely a future United States or Intercontinental Champion. 100%. He is the future in WWE. I guarantee it. And I bet Dijak is going to go on for more success as well. Outstanding match. Easily the best match of NXT this year. And honestly, the best match I've seen from NXT in a long time. Long time. Probably since Walter versus Ilya back in 2021. That long ago. So, yeah, overall, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I want to give it a 10, but I don't think it was quite there. So I'm going to give it a 9.5. Still an outstanding effort from both lads. And Wesley retaining was the cherry on top.
Yeah, I think it was great too. Wesley and Dijak had a great match. I always said in my head that Dijak, pretty much his full name was Dijakovic. He had so many great matches with Keith Lee, so I felt like, oh, he's gonna have a great match here. And it was expected, right? He had an amazing match with Wesley, with some great moments in there. The fucking choke slam, and like just like going through a table. I think no, that's not. But it was so really cool how many he flew off the turnbuckle to hit like two random people that are just trying to save Wesley for some reason. But I think it was fun. I think it did a great job. Definitely, I would say best match of NXT 2.0 in general. And I hated it. Anyone who knows this, me in general, I hate NXT 2.0 because of how bad they were doing it. But so far, this was one of the best matches of 2.0 ever so far. So it's a pretty good accomplishment, I would say. So definitely 9.5 on it.
You know what's funnier about it? The best match in 2.0 was by two guys that were in 1.0. So, yeah, before we move on, I actually made Chris watch this match as well. What did you think, man?
I actually thought it was really good. I remember briefly of Wesley, of his little tag team he had with that unfortunate dude, because that's where I best known him from. But, I'm glad that Wesley finally made it on his own, and Dijak was pretty cool seeing these two competitors go ham in ham. I'm still not going to watch NXT. I'm only going to watch, like, these matches if these guys end up competing again. So, yeah, that tells you a lot, because NXT 2.0 can suck my left nut, because it's garbage. But this is a good match.
Yeah, he didn't watch the whole show, but I at least told him to check that out, and he did, and yeah. So, moving on. NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match. K&K versus Fallon Henley and Kiana James, and they got the two hillbillies by ringside. So, overall, this was fine. There were some cool little spots in the match. I wouldn't say it's a bad match. However, the thing I really disagree with is the result. Kiana James and Fallon Henley are the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. I don't really think it makes sense. Unless if you plan on having K&K move up, I don't think it makes sense. Especially when we don't have a lot of tag teams for the women's division in WWE. What? We have Damage Control, K&K, and that's it. I mean, seriously, that's all the real teams the NXT Women's Tag Team division has, which, again, I don't even think there should be Women's Tag Team Championships in either WWE or NXT. Just kill the Tag Team Championships overall. It does nothing good for any of these women at all. And it does nothing that good for the viewer as well, as these titles are just kind of worthless. And Sasha Banks and Naomi were right in thinking it was worthless to hold those titles. So, with all that stuff being said, though, I'll give this a 5.5 out of 10. Again, fine. I just really disagree with the result. I disagree with the whole existence of women's tag titles, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I would say that's not that bad of a match. I do hate that the other team lost. I think K&K would have been the way better choice, but to me, because they are from the NXT point one, the first NXT, so they're not the new point. So they're probably trying to bring new people in, but it's kind of stupid to me. So, and yes, I do have the agreement of NXT Tag Team Champions women should not be existent only if you have a good roster. Like I guess I have the best. The only one who can do it probably right is actually Impact right now. Impact has some women's championships, and they do it great because they have a lot of women in that division, so they actually can do it well. But in NXT or WWE, I don't think it can do well right now if they don't have good women right now. So I'd probably give the opinion for that NXT women's, but for me, I'm gonna give this a 5. It was not that bad. It was not that good at the same time.
Okay. Now, 2 out of 3 falls. Apollo Crews versus Carmelo Hayes. Now, I think this is the match me and Berman are probably going to disagree on the most out of all 6. Not in terms of the quality, but because of the result. So, the match was decent. I don't think it was as good as the typical Carmelo Hayes match that you would check out and see, if I'm being quite honest, but it was solid. I can't really say it was horrible or anything. There were definitely some cool spots here and there. But this is the whole point I was going to say. Carmelo Hayes ended up going 2-0 on Apollo Crews. Yes, he did get some help from Trick Williams, and then that brought out Commander Aziz, and, that basically still led to Carmelo getting the win, thanks to a top rope leg drop, which is actually John Cena's move from what I remember, funny enough. Not saying Cena's the only guy who hits that move, but you get my point. It's most iconic from John Cena. So, this is what I have to say. Good. They made the absolute 100% right decision on having Carmelo go 2-0 on Carmelo. I mean, not on Carmelo, on Apollo Crews. Because, let's be real, Carmelo Hayes is the guy that's going to beat Braun Breaker at WrestleMania weekend. Braun is not beating Carmelo Hayes. That reality is not happening. Why? It's WrestleMania weekend. This is Braun's second reign, and he's going in on almost an entire year as champion. You are not going to have Braun lose to anybody else other than Carmelo Hayes, because the only person that people care about in 2.0 is Carmelo Hayes. So, and then let's look at Apollo Crews. So he lost, and what is he going to go on and do? He's going to feud against Jobber Aziz. So you have one guy potentially main eventing the stand and deliver card, then you have the other guy in a joke of a feud with Aziz. Why would you even give Crews a fall? Why even give him one? He has no character, and I say that now. Even if he has a character, it's fucking horrible. It's stupid. It sucks. Apollo is a good in-ring talent, but guess what? Almost everybody is, so it doesn't matter. Apollo has been here for years, and he's been a waste of a talent. There is no use of Apollo Crews. He is irrelevant. You might as well release him if you have no plans for him. And I don't blame them for not having plans for him. They've tried everything for this dude, and he still can't get over. So overall, 6.5 out of 10. This is 100% the right decision.
Yeah, I don't know about that to me, but I understand what you get to, but still, I always have a problem with Carmelo Hayes. One, because I just don't like him in general. I'm not racist, if that's what you think about. I just don't like him because he just feels boring to me. He just doesn't feel right to me. And I'm going to say this off that, if this is actually possible that he's going to fight against Braun Breaker, I fucking hope he will go clean. I don't care if he wins by cheating. I don't fucking care. I'm not going to watch NXT even if, because he's just going to be dumb, because it's every time since he won the North American Championship, he's been using Trick Williams as every pose, and it's just like boring. Like before that, he was winning without Trick Williams with nothing. Like, you do not need him if you don't want him. So that's why I don't like Carmelo, because he does not want to do it on his own. He lets Trick Williams help. Just annoying to me. But if he does, okay. But I'm hoping it's gonna be fucking clean. That's all I have. For me, it was not that bad of a match. Fairly slow. I don't like the ending because of the 2-0, but I understand the whole thing, so I'm not going to be watching NXT that much, even though. So for me, I'll probably do, I go a 5.5.
All right. Next up, we got the NXT Tag Team Championship match. New Day defending against Pretty Deadly, Gallus, and Chase U. Overall, this was a very fun match. You have the crowd who are very hot for Chase U. And while I was watching the match, at first I thought it was kind of dumb, but the more I think about it, I kind of get why it's working. I get why it's working. I'm not going to say it's necessarily my thing entirely, but I get why this has won certain people over. I get it. Now, Pretty Deadly, I don't like them at all. I think they're pretty much, I see them as the Young Bucks of WWE. I think they're jokes. And then, as for Gallus, they won. Yes, great decision, right decision. They deserve those titles 100%. You can do some great things with Gallus as the tag team champs. New Day, they did their thing. I don't know why they won those belts in the first place, but they can go on and do something at WrestleMania. If they don't have a plan at WrestleMania, all right, whatever. They can enjoy the time off, I guess. There was no reason to give them the NXT Tag Team Championships. So overall, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. Very fun. But there's one thing I will say. If you want to have Kofi and Xavier on the card, there's only one way I would put them on the card for WrestleMania. Kofi Kingston versus Xavier Woods. End the fucking New Day. End it once and end it for all. If you are, I don't want to see them in a tag team match against anybody. No, I'm fucking done with the New Day. No more. If I have to talk about this group again, Jesus Christ, do Kofi versus Xavier Woods. Let them finally be singles talent. That is what I want. Are they going to do it? No, because they don't have the balls to do it, but that's what should happen.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with that. The New Day opinion too. It's always dumb when I always see New Day. It's really cringy when I see a New Day. It's annoying. But with the whole entire match, I really did like it. I'm very, very happy with Gallus. Gallus is one of my favorites in NXT UK in general. I do love Pretty Deadly because they're fun, and they were NXT UK champions for a good while too, so I love it. GC was fun. New Day, suck it, whatever. I think it was great too how it was very fun how they did everything. Gallus brought out a new finisher that I've seen before, different one I've never seen before. So for me, I'm happy. I think Gallus is 100% deserves that shit completely. So for me, definitely 7.5.
All right. Now, triple threat. NXT Women's Championship match. Roxanne Perez versus Gigi Dolan versus JC Jane. Now, at first I had a major problem with this match. Because you got Roxanne, who's like probably less than 100 pounds. And no, I'm not calling her out on anything, but she probably is somewhere between 90 and 100 pounds. I'm being dead serious. So when you have, two people fighting someone who weighs that much, and you have the one person who is 90 to 100 pounds beat the other two people up by themselves, it looked really fucking ridiculous. And I still have that problem a bit with this match, but this is one thing I will say. The reason why that situation even happened in the first place was due to JC and Gigi not being able to cooperate with each other till the very end. That was why Roxanne was able to finally do that. And that's the justification. Does it work for me? Kind of. I say 50-50. I understand it, but at the same time, it kind of just doesn't feel believable at the same time either. From a action standpoint, you got a few cool things here and there, but the table spot, they teased like 10 different table spots, and the table spot we ultimately got was kind of disappointing. But overall, there is some fun to get out of this match. Roxanne retained. I think she's going to lose at the Cora Jade at Mania weekend. I don't think she should have lost to Gigi or JC, but I don't think Toxic Attraction should have broken up either, considering there's barely any women's tag teams. Unless, like I said, if you get rid of the women's tag team championships in both WWE and NXT. But you're not going to do it. So getting rid of Toxic Attraction makes zero sense. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, I understand Mandy's not there anymore, but come on. You could have still done enough with Gigi and JC. So overall, I'm going to give this a 6.5, though. It was decent.
This was fun. I know Roxanne Perez is really big too with the because he's as like the Booker T's protege, so everyone really loves her. But I still feel like I really wanted Gigi to win the whole match. It was like, the whole time I was just rooting for Gigi because I just wanted to see her because I feel like she's one of the better ones in Toxic Attraction. But still, not it didn't go through. It didn't happen. But I think it was not that bad of a match. The table spot lackluster, but I think it was not that bad. I had kind of expected the match to happen with like the breakdown of Toxic, but I think it was not that bad. At the same time, I'm hoping Cora Jade wins because I think Cora Jade's probably one of the better women on that whole entire roster. It's just more fun. She's just look a lot better. She looks like more of the NXT black and gold brand color, type of woman than anyone else on that roster right now.
You know what's really funny?
Yeah.
How you're a Cora fan and you hate Braun, and I think they're actually.
Yeah, I know, they are. I don't care, too. I love Cora, but I fucking hate Braun. I'm going to talk about that shit next match. I'm 100% going to fucking rip him to fucking shreds. I don't fucking care. But I love Cora, so I'm okay with her, because I like her more. She's a lot less boring than him. So, I like the match. It's not that bad. I give it a 6 for me.
Oh, man. All right. NXT Championship, Braun Breaker versus Grayson Waller. Oh man, it was a bit slow at times, but I liked it. It was good. And there is one thing I noticed about this cage match. You were only able to win by pinfall or submission. You couldn't win by escaping. That's something commentary mentioned multiple times. And, Grayson could have escaped. But, again, commentary mentioned it. He can't escape. And if he does, he doesn't win the championship. The match would continue. And I think that makes perfect sense. So, yes, this was good. But how could it have been better? We could have taken advantage of the no escape rule, You could have had Braun go to the outside and grab a table and bring it inside the ring. Or, you could have had Grayson, escape the cage and, get weapons from under the... You could have done something, You could have made it a bit more extreme. I think they would have made the match more entertaining, to be honest. Braun retains over Grayson Waller. I like Grayson Waller, but I didn't really see him beating Braun here because thinking about all of it, right? Going into Mania weekend, the 3 possible champions would have been Braun, Grayson, or Carmelo. And this is my whole thing. I actually would have really liked to have gotten Grayson versus Carmelo. And I know it's heel versus heel, but I don't know. I think Grayson versus Carmelo would have been pretty nice to do. Or, I don't know. There's a lot you could do with Grayson Waller as champion. You could have him fight Ilya Dragunov. I'm not saying you can't put the title on Grayson. I think putting the title on Grayson someday at least would definitely be a good idea. But now is just not his time. It's just sadly not. There aren't enough people hyped around Grayson Waller enough. Sure, he gets the reactions from crowds and NXT and stuff, but whenever WWE fans talk about NXT stars, the first 2 names that will come to mind is Braun and Carmelo. People aren't really talking about Tony D'Angelo. They ain't really talking about Grayson Waller. And again, I respect the hell out of Grayson Waller, and I think he's a very good wrestler, and I think he can become champion one day. I do. I would have had him beat Braun, actually, okay? I would have had him beat Braun. But I understand why they're doing Braun versus Carmelo. That is the ultimate 2.0 match, let's be honest. When 2.0 started, the 2 golden boys of 2.0 were Braun and Carmelo. Braun with the NXT belt and Carmelo with the North American belt. That is the definite truth. Those have been the 2 golden boys in this NXT era. This is the ultimate 2.0 match, Braun versus Carmelo. It makes sense for Mania weekend. And if we get the ultimate 2.0 match with Braun versus Carmelo out of the way, that means we can finally slowly get rid of the 2.0 style in NXT. Do the ultimate 2.0 match on Mania weekend, and then we can slowly revert back to normal. Because Braun can go up to the main roster. Carmelo can have his title reign. Someone can beat him, right? Maybe you have Dragon Lee, who has been signed and debut on Mania weekend, and we could build up a rivalry between him and Carmelo, which will ultimately lead to Dragon Lee beating Carmelo. Who knows? But my point is that I know this 2.0 stuff is slowly going to fade away. Hell, the 2.0 part isn't even in the logo anymore. The logo just says NXT again. So, again, changes are being made, but we have to give it time. Just like the main roster. The main roster isn't perfect yet. There are still some things I don't like. I still think the women's division could be booked better than it is right now. I definitely think that. But, yeah, I'm going to be more fair towards NXT going forward just because I am starting to gain faith that there is going to be a comeback. Overall, though, 7 out of 10.
Yeah. So first, I'm gonna have two rants, but first will be the match itself. The match was not that bad. I was anything. First thing first is that one thing that would probably make the whole match a lot better: Grayson Waller winning. That's the only thing I care about, really. Two. So the match was not that bad. I think it was fun. I loved how they implemented the cage and everything. Everything was fun too. For the NXT coming back and stuff, right now, I'm hoping NXT comes back and the black and gold brand. The only thing they gotta do is get rid of fucking Braun Breaker. Only thing they need to do. If they get rid of him, I think NXT is gonna be way better now. That's the only thing I really care if the black and gold brand's coming back. Braun Breaker leaving and going to the main roster. I'm probably not gonna be watching him whatsoever, but only if he fucking improves. So that's what I would say. So I'm hoping that later in the NXT era, Chris Waller is champion because I think he deserves that. Because I just saw he makes it like the perfect heel he makes it the most annoying heel out of anything. So for me, I do love that. So I think this match in general, 7 out of 10. I think it was great. The main thing was Grayson Waller's performance. I think he was amazing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Braun Breaker situation because everyone knows I fucking hate him. Danny, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that even though Grayson didn't win tonight, I think he could definitely be a champion 6 to 12 months from now.
Yeah, I believe that too, but still, anything would have been better than Braun Breaker winning at the same time. So now, let me get back into my rant I'm going to have on Braun Breaker. Fucking Braun Breaker goddamn needs to lose. I just fucking hate him so much. Boring as hell, he has a John Cena moveset, just everything, the exact same moves. Like the exact 5 to 6 different moves. Same thing. There's no changes, no nothing cool, nothing new. It's so plain. It's just so dumb. I just hate it so much. That's why I always hate Braun Breaker. It's just he does not change. He keeps on doing the exact same goddamn thing. Fucking hate him. And another thing that always pisses me off when I watch NXT and I'm saying, I don't know how they are delusional, is that the people on the commentators say that he is the best NXT champion on the world. No, he's the worst. The best was been probably Finn Balor and Adam Cole. They're hallucinating. They fucking say that Braun Breaker is the best. He is a fucking loser than anything else. I don't care. He's dumb. Cora Jade is way better than him. Freaking, even if they're dating, Cora Jade can probably beat him up if he wanted to. Seriously, it's just so fucking dumb. I hate Braun Breaker. I just want him to fucking leave and get out of the NXT roster so everyone else can get better than him. That's the only thing I fucking care about. Seriously, if they do that, I'd probably watch NXT a lot more now. But right now, I'm not watching it until fucking Braun Breaker loses. And fucking loses on a good way with maybe Carmelo Hayes winning clean. And that's the only thing I care about that much. But for me, I hope freaking Braun Breaker dies and goes freaking Raw. That's all. Raw SmackDown it makes him a jobber. That's the only thing I say right now. The match is pretty much 7 tip. So I'm done with my rant.
All right. So overall, I'm gonna give the show a 7 out of 10. Thought it was good. What about you?
I'd say 6.5.
Okay. So now we need to talk about this next big match that's happening next week. Unfortunately, me and Chris are not going to catch it live.
Oh,
Chris is going to be up at Level Up Expo. I may be going to a Level Up Expo, but I'm going to be also going to a friend's birthday. So I definitely have a full day ahead of me that day. I'm definitely not going to be able to watch Battle in the Valley or Elimination Chamber, sadly. But I will the next day. And we will review it at some point for you guys. Again, I have no problem reviewing WWE again. Did I like the Royal Rumble pay-per-view? Fuck no. But I still have enough faith in the overall company, and I still think the company is in good hands overall. So, advertised for the main event of Elimination Chamber in Montreal, Canada, Sami Zayn's home, Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And to make matters even bigger, the winner is going to go on and face Cody Rhodes in the main event of Night 2 at WrestleMania 39. So, let's talk here about all the possible outcomes. I've come down to the conclusion that there are 3 outcomes. There are 3 possible main events from where we go from here. Number 1, we stay the course. How do we stay the course? Jimmy is banned from going outside the US due to his multiple DUIs, but at least from what I've been told, I'm not sure if this is factual. I know Jay has only had 1 DUI, and it was back in 2017, almost 6 years ago. So honestly, that's understandable. And, you know, a one-time thing is definitely different from multiple times. So I think Jay might have some forgiveness and might be able to get access to go to Canada, but I know for a fact Jimmy can't go. And they gave a reason on SmackDown from Paul Heyman that there are some things you can catch from the TV that you can't catch from there. Actually, I think is very false. If anything, you wouldn't catch nearly as much as you could if you were there in the situation. But all right, whatever. So if you stay the course, the obvious way this goes down is Roman cheats to beat Sami, thanks to Jey Uso betraying Sami and super kicking him in the face and helping Roman retain. So we do Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos for the tag team championships, and then the main event, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed Universal Championship. That is staying the course. That is basically what they've had planned for a while, it seems. But is it 100% likely going to happen just because it's the obvious answer? Not necessarily. Let's entertain the other possibilities here, because we are in a universe with unlimitless possibilities. So, number 2 is that we get the Kofi-Mania, Eddie Guerrero, Daniel Bryan sort of moment. And Sami Zayn, in his home, beats Roman Reigns, thanks to the help of Jey Uso finally staying up for himself and betraying Roman to help Sami win the championship. So you have Roman versus Jey, potentially, as the main event of Night 1. Then in the main event of Night 2, undisputed Universal Championship match, Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes. And then the final possibility, the triple threat. So Roman beats Sami in some screwy fashion, but the finish is so screwy that it causes Sami Zayn to be added to Roman versus Cody, turning it into Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes. It would now become a triple threat. Basically the same thing as WrestleMania 37. It was just going to be Roman Reigns versus Edge, then it became Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. So those are our 3 possibilities. If you think Roman versus Sami is going to be a clean match, you are delusional. That is not going to be a clean match, no matter who wins it. I am very sorry to tell you the truth right there. You have Jey Uso, who is the ultimate instrument in this match. Either he betrays Roman or he stays by Sami's side. That is the obvious hook for this match. If you expect a clean match, you're not getting it. I'm very sorry. So let's talk about all three of these possibilities. Which one do you want to see the most?
2. I'd say probably 2 for me. I think it'd be fun. Another idea is there no idea maybe if Kevin Owens might interrupt the match too?
Oh, like we have Kevin Owens cost Roman, and then you finally have Kevin beat Roman at WrestleMania and get his redemption. That's another possibility.
That's another question. And another thing, the main event of night 2 is going to be the women's championship. So I don't think that main event of Roman versus.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't think Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte's going to main event, and I don't think it should. And I'll explain why later.
All right. Even if so, we can talk about that later. But I think 2 would be the best because I think I would love to see Sami win. Everyone wants to get over Roman Reigns, so he gets out. So we have a cool fun character, and everyone loves Sami right now. So I feel like, and even his hometown makes so much sense to it. And maybe Sami, Kevin, and Jey Uso maybe gets the helps out Sami to win, because that'd be interesting. Kind of like a 3 versus 3. Actually, that could be a good match too. See that Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso versus Roman, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa.
Yep, exactly.
So to me, that'd be interesting to see for the second possibility.
So that's the interesting thing, right? When you have Sami Zayn, who is so over with the crowd and everybody loves him right now, where does this really leave Cody and his moment for his dad? Do we have him beat Sami and potentially have people be pissed at Cody for beating Sami? Or do we have Sami beat Cody and potentially have people be pissed at Sami for taking away what could have been Cody's moment?
I mean, it could be a good match too.
Well,
maybe it's a clean match, and maybe they say, "Oh, it's a great match. There was no cheating. There was no it was very clean." They went into I don't think they would just cheer both. I mean, there's cases where that actually happens. So, to me, I think it might. If it's a clean match, no one will get booed. If it's a very clean match, it's just a very good match to see.
So you think it would just be a good showcase of the two most over baby faces in the company? Why not? Sammy's very over on SmackDown. Cody's very over on Raw. That's practically your whole point, right? Like, they're the two most over talent, the two most over guys right now. That should be the main event.
Yeah, pretty much.
What about you, Chris? What's your take on the whole situation? Triple threat, Sammy versus Cody, or Roman versus Cody?
I think it's just going to be Roman versus Cody due to the fact that I don't see Sammy winning at all. Because I know they're pushing Cody versus Roman very, very hard, no matter how the fans react. Like, obviously, Sammy versus Roman make more sense for Sammy to dethrone him. But since Triple H and whoever's in charge of the company is pushing Cody to the moon, they kind of just want to sweep it underneath the ring, metaphorically, just for the fact that we have Elimination Chamber. Sammy loses, he gets his moment with Kevin Owens or Jey Uso or what have you. So I don't even know, man. I'm hoping for the triple threat. That would be a lot more interesting, but knowing WWE, they're just going to be safe for the WrestleMania. So it's probably just going to be Roman versus Cody at the end of the day. As much as I disagree with that take.
Yeah. I also disagree with having KO and Sammy being the team to dethrone the Usos. I also don't like that. Because why would you have a makeshift team, a random team, two randomly thrown superstars together be the ones to beat the Usos instead of an actual tag team? That's fucking stupid.
So we would say that you probably want the Banger Bros to win against the Usos? Or the X-rated version?
Yes, that would make more sense. Think about it. They injured Sheamus. Sheamus has yet to get his proper revenge. And then Drew McIntyre, they've cost him against Roman Reigns multiple times. That pair makes a lot of sense.
They could do that at WrestleMania. I would think, if anything, they can do the second option, Cody versus Sammy at WrestleMania, and then the Banger Bros against Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso, I guess, for the tag team champions.
Yeah, because Jey versus Roman would have to be the other match.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I would probably think about with the second option.
Honestly, with the second option, it would just make the most sense to have the Banger Bros instead of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being the ones that dethrone the Usos. And I'm sorry, I don't think Drew should have beaten Roman because Drew doesn't have enough personality to be the world champion. And I know it sounds very harsh, but look at his 2 world title reigns. Were there anything that special? They were not. I think him and Sheamus as tag team champions sounds a lot of fun. And everyone will say, where does that leave Gunther? There's Brock fucking Lesnar in the corner for him.
Yeah.
So
and even Bobby Lashley if they wanted to.
They could do a triple threat with those guys. Gunther, Bobby, and Brock. A better triple threat than Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew, actually.
Or they could get Karrion Kross, too. There's another option.
Gunther versus Karrion Kross. Another good match. So that's the whole point. They don't need to have Kevin and Sami be the 2 to dethrone the Usos. And if people think they're the only option, they're delusional. Sami Zayn is over with the audience. Why throw him in with the tag titles? That makes no sense. That's just how I see it.
Yeah. Chris, you want to say anything else about it?
No, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, there's not much, but I'm kind of blaming the writers too, because to be fair, Daniel, most of the tag team guys have been buried by the Usos at this point, so everyone else is pretty much a joke at this point. And I don't
The
buy
Banger
it.
Bros were cheated in their match. Well, no, they never even had a match.
No, they never did.
So come on, it's
only
the
then-
Banger Bros. It's the Banger Bros. It's not fucking Kevin and Sami.
Or their X-rated version, but they don't want to say it.
Yeah.
But what about the top males?
Like, I'm sorry, KO and Sami are singles guys. They're not fucking tag guys.
Anything you wanted to, you could bring up one of the NXT people to put in there as like a surprise Uso fight, but I don't think that makes no sense either.
Right. Oh, well, there's Jacob Fatu from MLW who's rumored to possibly come in the WWE at some point.
Oh, I remember him. Oh man, I love him too. Forgot that he was there.
Yeah, he's rumored to come and join the Bloodline eventually.
Oh, jeez.
And then, what else is there? Yeah, personally, I think the triple threat would be the most creative. It'd be the most fun. And you'd give people options. You can let people root for Roman. You can let people root for Cody. Or you can let people root for Sami. Instead of having it be so one-sided with, oh, this has to be Cody's moment and all that stuff. Like, the match and build is going to be so one-sided for Cody that I will actually be shocked if Roman beats Cody. There is no way. I see this, though. Unfortunately, though, I see number one being the what they do, stay the curve. Personally, though, triple threat or number 2 would be very fun. It'd be very different.
Yeah, it depends on one big thing I would say, and that is Triple H's mindset. Does Triple H want to destroy the bloodline, or does Triple H want to improve other people? And I feel like because of him being the NXT startup, my best guess would be Sami Zayn getting that title.
Like, again, yeah, like he was Triple H's golden boy in the beginning of NXT. That's why part of me is like thinking, can he?
Because another thing, you can think about this, and I just thought about it right now. Roman Reigns was McMahon's golden boy, pretty much. But if anything, you can say that Triple H's golden boy is Sami right now.
Oh, well, actually, no. Triple H definitely had a say in Roman being on top as well, because they were actually gym buddies. But no, I definitely understood where you're coming from, though. Sami is definitely treated better by Triple H than, Vince, for sure. And Sami definitely has a better chance under this WE than a Vince WE.
Yeah. So definitely, I'm hoping for the second option.
Yeah, second or third would be great with me. And Chris wants 3, but he expects 1. I expect 1 as well. I hope they don't stay the course, though. I think that'd be very boring. So, and if you are going to stay the course, here's the deal. This leads into our next option. Rhea needs to squash Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 39. Why? Here's why. They've already had multiple competitive matches. And were any of them good? Nope. Not WrestleMania 36. If you literally don't even look at the fucking video, it sounds like it's a fucking lesbian porn video. Like, it's so bad. And then
But it's
you
so
have
good.
Hell in a Cell. That match at Hell in a Cell 2021 was fucking dog shit. And then their match at Money in the Bank 2021 wasn't good either. It was boring. And then they fought again in the triple threat at SummerSlam featuring Nikki, which was fine, but just fine. So, this is what I have to say. Rhea and Charlotte doesn't need to be competitive. It doesn't need to be hard. No. This is not a hard thing to book. Rhea Ripley has been beating up the men, has been looking like a beast. Charlotte Flair, the only way she could have possibly defeated Ronda was if she had the cheat, or if Ronda had a match beforehand, so Charlotte was completely fresh and Ronda wasn't. Charlotte is a poser. Don't let Charlotte have a long competitive match with Rhea Ripley. If this match is longer than 3 minutes, that is stupid. Yes, I said that. If this is longer than 3 minutes, that's how short this match needs to be. This needs to be a statement. This is Rhea Ripley's coming out party. Rhea Ripley needs this fucking win, and she needs to look like a monster while doing it.
What if it's 10 minutes?
I don't know. No. 3 or less. 3 or less.
Okay.
This needs to be a squash. And this is not a Mania main event. This match would suck as a WrestleMania main event. This needs to end in, honestly, if it was up to me, 30 seconds. And I'm not saying all of this to hate on Charlotte Flair. I'm saying this because you need to make a fucking star here. You need to make a statement. What bigger statement would you make than Rhea Ripley squashing Charlotte? What? By having Rhea beat Charlotte in a 20-minute match? Fuck that! Fuck that! Oh, but we need to protect Charlotte Flair. Why? She's already won 12, 13, 14 titles. It doesn't matter. We don't need to protect her for shit. She's Charlotte. She's fucking fine. Rhea needs to beat the shit out of her and squash her in less than 3 minutes. And I heard that take from a YouTuber named Just Alex, and I could not agree more.
Yep, I'm not going to say that much about it because you already talked about it, but yeah, 100%. I think Rhea is a destroyer, and I think definitely this should be the era of the Rhea Ripley. And I'm hoping that's the case where, yes, she's going to get squashed. Charlotte leaves, and maybe, I don't know if it's going to be a good possibility, but it could be, and that's going to mean maybe Charlotte Flair goes to AEW with her husband over there. So I don't know if it's going to be possible, but it sounds interesting to me. So for me, Rhea Ripley needs to squash. Only thing.
And if anything, if you want to have a competitive match down the road at a B pay-per-view after WrestleMania, that's perfectly fine. But WrestleMania is called a showcase of immortals. Make it that. Make Rhea look like an absolute immortal beast by destroying Charlotte. And what do you think, Chris?
Well, again, if it's going to be like a 3-minute squash, hopefully it looks good, but I don't think so. They're going to go with the safe option and maybe have like a 10 to 15-minute match.
Yeah, they are, which is bullshit, but they shouldn't. And think about it like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how Ronda won the Royal Rumble last year, and that would have guaranteed her the night 1 main event? They didn't main event. Stone Cold and Kevin did. And WrestleMania 36, the winner was Charlotte Flair. Did she main event night 1? Nope. Her and Rhea kicked off the show on night 2. So, you can have the women's Royal Rumble winner not main event the show. Does that sound a bit harsh? Yes. But this is what's going to happen here, okay? If we are doing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, that's the night 1 main event. If you're forcing to put Sammy in a tag match with all the work he's done, you are rewarding that man with a WrestleMania main event one way or another. Whether he's involved in the world title or the tag titles, he needs to be in one of the two main events at WrestleMania, because in 2022, he was the very best thing about all of WWE. And trust me, whenever we do that tier list video, you already know where I'm going to put him. That's not a spoiler, that's a fact.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else you need to say about that. I think Rhea Ripley definitely doesn't need to be the main event. Anything if Sami Zayn wins, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso is the one for the main event. If that's my hoping.
Yeah, Roman versus Jey or Roman versus Kevin would work as one main event if they did Sammy versus Cody. Either way, Charlotte versus Rhea has no business main eventing a WrestleMania, let alone a freaking pay-per-view.
Indeed.
So, now let's move on. The Young Bucks have apparently sabotaged FTR. So, what happened with FTR? So, apparently, Dax Harwood from FTR has explained a few things from the podcast as to why they haven't been on TV lately. Other important stuff. I think one of the reasons is injury related, if I'm not mistaken, but another part of it has to kind of do with the booking that they've received in 2022. And basically, if you guys didn't know, the Young Bucks and FTR were two tag teams that were very respected to one another. And Tony Khan promised them back in 2020, AEW would have been centered all around the two teams, the Young Bucks and FTR. But over time, FTR felt lied to. And they felt not only second fiddle to the Young Bucks, but they just didn't feel all that important at all. While the Elite were taking over the show, what was FTR doing? They were in kind of a forgettable feud with Jurassic Express. And let's just be perfectly honest here. They didn't have another match until 18 months after the first match. And why? I don't know. I think that might be on Tony Khan. It might be on the Young Bucks. I don't entirely know about that one, but 18 months from the first match. They waited 18 months to give FTR their win back. It's a little fishy. And, they just waited conveniently till it was for the ROH titles. So you had the Young Bucks win in the AEW Championship match, arguably the more important title match. Do I believe that? Not necessarily, because ROH has a history beyond our AEW. But besides. So, apparently, there was going to be a third Young Bucks and FTR match in the summer. And FTR were going to beat the Young Bucks for the tag team championships. But apparently the Young Bucks did not want to lose to FTR because they believe FTR are just going back to WWE eventually, so there's no point in putting them over. And they decided to put over talent they trusted more, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Swerve in their glory. Ended up taking those titles instead. Especially because they were freshly signed just this year, compared to FTR, who have been in the company for over 2 years, near the end of their contract, so it didn't matter as much. So, what has FTR done since they couldn't get the AEW tag titles? Well, they continued their reign with the other 3 belts. And whether they would resign or not with AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling and many other companies, it's all been in the air. So every single company made FTR drop those titles just a few months before all of this goes down. AEW also had the Guns destroy FTR, and they did that little FT Rip promo. So they even gave FTR a possible out of AEW in case if they never returned. So now it's all up in the air. Are FTR re-signing with the indie scene in AEW? That is yet to be known. We'll find out in the future. But let's just compare. The Young Bucks were obviously doing the Young Bucks were obviously doing the more relevant things in comparison to FTR. That's just the plain old facts. So, it's very unfortunate to say. However, I think the Young Bucks have indeed sabotaged FTR. And as for Tony, and why do I even say that? Because at the end of the very, podcast clips, Dax Harwood has said that he has worked everything out with Tony Khan, and him and Tony Khan are like best buds now. But his relationship with the Young Bucks has completely deteriorated. So, on top of this, apparently the Young Bucks have even received some backstage heat from the talent after all of this stuff has been reported out by Dax Harwood and the internet. So, as you guys may know, Dax Harwood has also been backing up CM Punk during the whole CM Punk versus Elite drama. Now I think we know the reason why. So, here's the question here. With a possible CM Punk return on the way, and a possible CM FTR versus Elite match on the way, could this all possibly be for storyline purposes? Could they be using real life things to build to this eventual huge 6-man tag team match that will probably be at Double or Nothing? And let's be honest, who are the Elite feuding with right now? AR Fox and Top Flight. Obviously, they're not losing to those guys. They're going to lose the belts probably to House of Black, but if not, maybe they will to CM FTR. And instead of putting the AEW belt on Punk, who keeps getting injured, unfortunately, they can have a safer bet by putting trios championships on him, so he's not in the ring 100% of the time. That's just how I would view it. So, yeah, is this real? Is this a shoot to build up a wrestling match? What do you guys believe?
I think it's probably a real thing that's happening. And if it is, it's brutal. It's very bad. And I probably think that probably Tony Khan is just smart thinking that, well, because this is happening, I think it's a better idea to do this and see if we can get it over with. Probably see if we can pretty much give Elite a punishment for doing this to them by making them lose those titles. And I think it works. And I think it'll be fun to see. I think I love FTR, so it'll be great to see. If not, I don't know if there's an impossibility, but I would love to see FTR maybe in maybe a 4-month at Impact, because there's some really fun, or really good tag teams. I would love to see them go against each other. So I would love to see that maybe for a month at least or something.
And to mention, if they can't bring CM Punk back, they can take those belts off the Guns.
Yeah, you could. I think that's the best idea. I think if they do return without CM Punk, that's probably number one option that it's going to happen would be FTR versus the Ass Boys for those titles, and I think that makes complete and total sense.
And that's the only safe way I see it happening. But again, I don't know if FTR is coming back. Most likely they are, because they're still a big part of the Dynamite the projects or whatever. So we'll see. We'll see what they come back or not.
Do you think this is all real, or do you think it's all shoot to build up a 6-man tag team match?
I think it's like a little bit of both, honestly, because I'm not surprised with the Young Bucks shit, because they're pretty much the faces and don't want to drop at FTR, because they'll be like, oh, they're going to leave for WWE.
And you know what else is very interesting that I also read up on? Apparently, FTR isn't the only team they sabotaged. They also apparently sabotaged Santana and Ortiz, and there's a legitimate reason why they never became AEW Tag Team Champions. Apparently, it was their idea to pair those two up in the inner circle with Chris Jericho, so they would be distracted being Jericho's henchmen.
Oh.
So, yeah, this isn't the first time they've allegedly sabotaged a team.
Understandable, honesty.
Sounds like some Hulk Hogan shit if you ask me, people.
True.
So, moving on now. Jay White, he lost his Loser Leagues Japan match What now? Now, his options are WWE or AEW. Now, he has history with a few names in both companies, so you can definitely get good stories no matter which company he goes to. And you can get good matches no matter which company he goes to. So I'm happy either way, personally. But if I had it my way, considering that Cody's probably going to become the next champion, I would love to see Cody Rhodes versus Jay White. I would love to see Jay White fight Seth Rollins. I would be interested in even seeing Jay White and Austin Theory fighting and possibly throwing mind games at one another. I would love Jay White versus Finn Balor. And don't even get me started on Jay White versus AJ Styles. So, there's definitely stuff you can do with him in WWE. There's definitely the criticism, though, that Berman, you mentioned, right? That you fear that he could be a watered-down version of himself from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah. The big thing, so why I say this is that one of the biggest things about why he's the best to me in New Japan is how he interacts with the fans, which that's easy, but the biggest part is the referee. He loves fucking messing with the referee. He loves pushing him around. He loves saying, like, getting in the faces, talking about shit. Most in WWE, you don't see anyone doing that. So, but in AEW, most of the time you see that sometimes happening. So I think to me, you're not going to see you're not going to see this side of Jay White that you would see in New Japan. But if he went to AEW, you would see this every day. You would see the New Japan Jay White in AEW without no constraints. But in WWE, I feel like he's going to have a lot of constraints. He's going to be very watered down, like a few other people who came from New Japan to WWE beforehand.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, you're good. I'm just with Berman because that's if Jay White's a little shtick or whatever, and WWE is a little too. I'm not saying it's for like kids necessarily, but they're a lot more safer with the sponsors or whatever, so it probably won't be allowed for him to like be as brutal as he is in New Japan. So AEW probably be the better option. But that's what I think, me.
This is what I'll say. You know how I feel that way towards MJF joining WWE. Do you guys think MJF could ever cut the kind of promo on WWE programming that he did this week on Dynamite?
No.
Not a chance in fucking hell. And for that reason, I would never want to see a WWE version of MJF in a million years.
Yeah, it's the Miz.
So that's basically what he would be if he was on WWE TV.
Oh.
So this is what I'm gonna say now. I definitely can see that for Jay White in some aspects. But at the same time, I'm actually wanting him to go to WWE more. And this is why. The AEW, right? They have Kenny Omega, they have Bryan Danielson, they have Adam Cole, they have MJF, they have CM Punk, they have Malachi Black, they have Miro, they have Andrade Almas, they have Phoenix, they have Pac, they have Brody King, they have Malachi Black, they have, I already said that name, but you guys get the point. They have so many names on that roster. Where does Jay White fit in on that? I don't think Jay White would have a good spot on the card in AEW. I think he would be mid-card in AEW. But WWE, I think he would be main event. I 100% believe that. I would doubt Jay White being a main eventer in AEW. I am very sorry. I don't see that happening.
And here's let's say an ultimatum for myself. And this is if this is going to happen with WWE, with Jay White. And that's the main thing is hoping that the WWE producers and pretty much everyone else in WWE gives them a fuck ton of leeway. If they give them a fuck ton of leeway and they give them say, hey, you can do whatever you want, just be careful. And if they'd say that to him, I'm perfectly fine with him going to WWE, and he's going to be the exact same way as he in New Japan. But if they say, no, you can't do anything, you gotta be very, very PG, you cannot have a Jay White PG anything.
Right.
That's what I would say about that. So that's my ultimatum for myself.
That's definitely fair. I think my thing is, if this was a year ago, right, and we were talking about Jay White and WWE, I would have said fuck no a year ago. But it's not the same WWE as it is a year ago. It's better now. Is it perfect? Fuck no. But it's definitely better now. And this is the thing, right? We look at Cody Rhodes. Honestly, I think he's had all the leeway in the world. I don't think there's one thing that he's doing in WWE that he wasn't doing in AEW. So I think Jay White will be okay. And especially, because Jay White has a rich history in New Japan and they pushed AJ Styles to become a WWE champion. I don't see why they wouldn't have Jay White not become a WWE champion. I think he would become one. So, yeah, that's basically my whole point.
Yeah, and another thing, and it might be a little bit minor, but I think it's big for me. I'm hoping that they keep the persona, the Switchblade Jay White, that he is that character, and if possible, the music at the same time. I love the music for him.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping that they keep the exact same thing as what they did with Cody Rhodes. They let him do with his own character, Switchblade character, and his music. The only thing I'm afraid of is his finisher. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. And if you know the WWE history and anything, and I think Danny probably can think what I'm saying is that they don't allow people to use the same finisher as another person on their brand.
Bray Wyatt. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And because Jay White's finisher is the Switchblade, is the Blade Runner. It's the exact same thing as that finisher. I'm very scared because the only finisher I can think that he could probably go for would be the Blade Buster, which is not that bad, but it's not as good as the Blade Runner. But that's the Blade Runner's the best move. But he could do the Blade Buster. That could work, but I feel like that's the thing that's scary about this whole thing. And that's why, and that's another thing I'd like to bring up, is the same thing is happening that happened to Carl Anderson. He has the gun stun, but he's not allowed to use gun stun because of the RKO. It's the same thing. So I'm very scared on the finisher. If he goes to WWE, everything else I'm okay with, but that finisher is one of the big things for me. I'm hoping that there's something going to happen with. I'm scared with that finisher.
Yeah, that's fair. So now we're going to move on to the final topic. The Logan Paul praise needs to just be chilled out a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, this is what I'm going to say about Logan Paul. I'm going to be fair here. Is he good?
Yes.
For someone who's only had a few matches? The answer is yes. But does that make him better than everyone on the roster? Absolutely not. And some people have been out there claiming Logan Paul is better than 90% of indie wrestlers, AEW wrestlers, and NXT wrestlers. 90%. Not 50%. Even saying 50% would be ludicrous. But no. 90%. How ridiculous do you have to be? How low does your standards have to be to put Logan Paul in your top 10% of professional wrestlers alive today? That is ridiculously insulting to every single other person who has spent their lives training to do this. Because you guys might be giving Logan Paul all the credit in the world, but there's one thing you're all choosing to ignore. Logan Paul has millions and millions and millions of dollars that all these people, when they started, never had. John Cena started when he was broke. Randy Orton started when he was broke. The Rock started when he was broke. They were all broke. But Logan Paul has all the resources in the world. Don't act like he is someone who just magically knew nothing about wrestling and learned all the tricks in a bit of time. No, he learned the tricks in the time he did because he has the money and the resources to know those tricks. So fine, say he's good for the few times he's appeared, but don't act like he's worked as hard as every other person who's ever done this when he's had the resources and money that they never fucking had in the first place. It is insulting and it is ridiculous. And the fact that you think Logan Paul, the guy that just has all the money and resources, should get the match, should get the moment. He doesn't have to work for anything, so we can give him the moment over the people who have worked for it. Over the AJ Styles, over the Johnny Garganos, over the Finn Balor's, and you were all saying he's not going to take the spotlight off of them when they had this fear 6 months ago. But look at it now. Look at it now. He had a championship match against Roman Reigns. He was in the final four of the Royal Rumble, and now he is going on to face a main event player in Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 39 and potentially win. How is that not taking away the spotlight away from other wrestlers? It 100% is. It is selfish to give Logan Paul a main match at WrestleMania. Absolutely selfish. And I could mention all the trouble that he's in right now, but I'm choosing to be better than that and talk about reasons other than that for why he doesn't deserve this fucking match. He hasn't had to work as hard as everyone else. So everyone's saying he's great, he's amazing. Stop it, because he's had the resources to literally pull off everything on planet fucking Earth. That is the same reason he was able to get to Floyd Mayweather as fast as he did. He has the resources and he has the money. Stop giving this man so much fucking credit. Jesus Christ, man. It gives me a headache just even thinking about how... I'm not going to continue, man. This is just ridiculous that we're even in this spot. We could literally give Johnny Gargano the U.S. title in the Elimination Chamber by having John Cena cost Austin Theory the championship. You could do Cena versus Theory, and then you could do Gargano versus Rollins. Gargano versus Rollins is a WrestleMania match, and that would be a great way to take a hard-working talent and elevate him to the next level. That's a great idea. Or if they do sign Jay White and get the presentation right, have him on his debut match beat Seth Rollins just like Cody did last year. If you're going to make Seth Rollins lose again, it better be to someone who is an actual wrestler, someone who actually works hard, and someone who actually had to start without any resources or any money. And this is my entire point here. It is selfish to give Logan Paul a match against Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I think I understand everything you're trying to say. Don't get me wrong, I do like Logan Paul because of how he's good. He's not a good person, but he is a good wrestler. Not a great wrestler, but he is actually a pretty fun and good wrestler. But he needs a fuck ton of work. I would like to see him in NXT. That'd be really fun to see him actually just pop with NXT stuff. I think that's great. That's a great way to know him, and maybe he gets a championship in NXT when he is getting better and better. I think that's a great idea. I just don't think it's a good idea to give Logan Paul that spot against Seth freaking Rollins. That's not the best idea you could have done. You could have done, if you wanted to, there's so many other characters. Jay White's a great idea if they get a presentation right. What Danny said, Johnny Gargano is a great one too. There's so many ideas for Seth Rollins that they could have done. It's a very bad idea that they did for Logan Paul. If anything, I hope they maybe do a last minute decision. I don't know if they can do that, but I think it'd be cool. Just do a last minute decision. Say, well, Logan Paul is injured, so Seth Rollins is going to be fighting a mystery opponent again, and that's when they bring up some Jay White or another person that they need another debut or something, and then Logan Paul gets downgraded to the NXT roster. That'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
That is literally perfect.
It's beta.
And before you guys laugh at him saying, NXT, Logan Paul, are you serious? No, he belongs in NXT. Because NXT is about learning the ropes and learning how to properly do them. And you know what else is ridiculous? You know what else is very ridiculous that people have told me? People think Logan Paul has a better buckshot lariat than Hangman Adam Page. When Logan Paul literally fucking injured himself while doing the buckshot lariat. How delusional. How delusional. And again, it is incredibly selfish to give Logan Paul, who has all the resources and money, this spot over to people who don't have it. and have had to earn their spots in this industry.
Yeah. Chris, anything you have to say?
No, I think I'm good, man.
Surprisingly, you're not supporting Logan Paul.
I mean, he's my boy, but he'll get there. He's just a celebrity. That's all I really see it. He's just there for the younger people to like get drawn to WWE, and he's doing his job correctly.
Like, sure, you can say like Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul will be a good match. That's probably what some people are going to say, right? And maybe that will be true. That will probably more than likely be true. But can we just embrace the fact that he's had the resources, he has the money? Let's just not act like he's a nobody who's had to learn all this shit, because he's not. He's Logan Paul. People know who the fuck he is. So, again, I'm not trying to sound like a Logan Paul hater in all of this. I will give credit in the fact that he is talented. And you know what? If he dedicated himself to the sport, then yeah, sure, maybe he could be a main event player. And, you know, you could say, how could he's not? You know, I just feel like he's just being gifted this push in a similar way to how I felt about Cody being gifted this push. Like, if you've noticed Cody Rhodes, right? He hasn't lost once since he's come back. He went 3-0 on Seth Rollins. He got to go into the Royal Rumble at number 30 and win. Has Cody Rhodes had to even struggle at all on the road to the championship?
No.
Technically, yes.
I mean, the injury, but that's it. That's literally it. Like, that's just my whole thing. Whenever I originally wrote Cody Rhodes becoming champion, I had him struggle a bit. WWE are just throwing him that moment. And do I really believe that? Watch Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns, and my point will be proven.
Well, that only depends if Roman Reigns will defeat Sami. If that's the same thing. That maybe Sami versus with Cody would be a great idea, and that could be a big thing because Sami could win against Cody. Then Cody gets big, and needs to get another big road to the championship again.
Maybe, man. Again,
And maybe he becomes United States champion because that makes a lot more sense for him.
I was a massive Cody Rhodes fan all the way from 2016, I'd say. No, before that. 2013 to 2020. And what made me start losing, what made me stop being a fan of him so much? It's this desperate need to sell this good guy, America, fuck yeah, sort of thing. It feels like he's trying to be like John Cena. That's just all I get from him now. And I don't like that because I know Cody Rhodes is a great wrestler. And I know once he retires, he's going to be someone to look back on and I genuinely appreciate. But right now, I feel like he's just so force-fed down my throat, I kind of can't help myself. So, yeah, that's all I'll say.
He's good.
Yeah, you put it right.
Now, anything else you guys would like to say before we end off this podcast?
No, we talked about it. Everyone hopes Sami Zayn wins.
We'll see, man.
I love Roman Reigns, right? But if I have to choose between him losing to Sami and losing to Cody, just lose the belt to Sami. He's been champ for 2.5 years. Who cares if he really holds the belt another month? I know people will say Elimination Chamber is a B pay-per-view. Well, guess what? Sometimes life will be crazy. Eddie Guerrero beat Brock at the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. And, it could have happened at WrestleMania. Well, too bad it didn't. And the moment is still fucking perfect. And I wouldn't change the moment at all. So, no, I wouldn't have that moment at a WrestleMania because it was perfect being at No Way Out 2004. And I feel the same about this. You have an opportunity here to get the ovation of a lifetime from Montreal, Canada. I say take it.
Perfection.
The best way for WWE to secure their dominance.
Yep. So, with all that stuff being said, guys, it's been a long one, but if you tuned in all the way from start to finish, thank you all so much for watching. If you want to tune in for more videos, please subscribe, please like, please comment, do all that shit. You already know the drill. I've been Daniel.
I've been Berman.
I'm Chris.
And we'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy.